when they spit at people, you know, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing. They get up to them this far away, and then they start spitting in their face. That happens, they get hit very hard.
Planning to invoke that Insurrection Act, you still plan to send troops?
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden and his auto pen.
What's the bar for sending Marines?
The bar is what I think it is. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order. What are the rules of engagement for federal troops? We'll see what happens. If we think there's a serious insurrection or less than that, we're going to have law and order. Very important.
How would you define an insurrection?
You have to really just have to look at the site. You have to see what's happening. Last night in Los Angeles, we watched it very closely. There was a lot of violence there. There was a lot of violence, and it could have gotten much worse. You have an incompetent...
Some pretty unpopular things, starting with, this is not good. Also, this is not a peaceful protest. But something very disturbing is happening in the background that I think you should know about. It's time to deploy Palantir to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't. This is the grand plan. Okay, it's not an accident that cars are burning on the streets and people are waving foreign flags on the streets. There is something they're trying to manufacture consent for. Remember, when they justified the passing of the Patriot Act over 20 years ago, they told us we needed all this extra power to go after the bad guys, to get rid of the terrorists. But almost immediately, the government started to use that extra power they were given to spy on ordinary Americans, right? How can you be so sure that you will not be deemed an enemy of the state one day? There's absolutely no guarantee that this master database won't be weaponized against you. And to be perfectly honest, history tells us that the likelihood is pretty high that it will be used against you one day. So to quote RFK Jr., 1, any power that the government takes from the people, it will never return voluntarily. 2, every power that the government takes, it will ultimately be abused to the maximum extent possible. 3, nobody ever complied their way out of totalitarianism. The only thing we can do is resist. Be careful out there, people.
All agency data from a central access point. Sources tell Wired the project will likely be hosted on Foundry, as you were describing, the software that was developed by Palantir. Talk more about this.
Yeah.
They get access and hand it to a private company?
Yeah, so this is done across government with Amazon Web Services, Google, all kinds of different tech contractors are able to access this kind of data to build services for it. What you just discussed with IRS, this Palantir process and this creating a giant centralized database of, American civil data was something.
Meanwhile, all these workers are getting fired.
Exactly.
But they keep their information.
Right. At the beginning of the Trump administration, you had folks at the General Services Administration, people who are associated with Elon Musk. The husband is someone who worked at XAI and X.com, and then also Thomas Shedd, who is leading things over there, who is an ex-Tesla engineer. They said that their main goal for this administration was to centralize data all across government. Centralizing data is incredibly difficult, especially with the mass amounts of data that the federal government has on everyone, living and working within the United States. And so it seems as if this process has shifted, instead of building one giant database, right, but to unifying data at every single agency. So we're seeing that in my reporting at IRS. They're unifying all the data there to make it more easily accessible and accessed. And then also, if you have a Foundry system at IRS and have one at DHS, those can talk to each other incredibly easily, which means you don't necessarily have to centralize all that data. You're able to query a variety of data systems across government if these systems are interoperable, which it looks like they could be.
It's at the behest of the state, which is really the techno-feudal corporate state.
Globally, we built what we call multi-constellation, and what's often called the digital kill chain. And they're category-defining products. So when you deliver these products to the market, just honestly, people say this isn't going to exist, this isn't valuable, but then it changes the market. And then the market is the Palantir market. Now, that doesn't mean everyone in the world's going to buy our product, but it means most of the sensible people in the world are going to buy from the category we defined.
So what he's saying there is that, you've heard this term, the Internet of Bodies, right? And so through the Internet of Bodies, they're going to even know our thoughts. And this is very much like, science fiction. I remember the Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where they could predict that you were going to do a crime and then go arrest you. That's what they're kind of talking about here. And so if you are a dissenter to the establishment, or you are in opposition to the establishment, they're going to use this against you. They're even able to do pre-thought crimes. This is all using AI, right? And so here the Patriot Voice tweets out, Palantir is literally the deepest part of the deep state, and Trump is rolling out the red carpet for them to usher in what will certainly be the beast system, a cashless society in which you will be tracked and monitored every second of every day, and your behavior will dictate how you get to live in society. This is absolutely the Great Reset and Build Back Better repackaged MAGA style. The biggest rug pull in history. Would you agree with that, Derek? That this is the biggest rug pull in history?
Absolutely. I mean, it's ironic to me, Jimmy, that just 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, some of the same people that were protesting against Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, calling for many of the same things now that Palantir and Trump's tech buddies are doing, were fighting it then, I think rightfully so.
And the book of 2 Ezra, the 16th chapter, verse 17. I am doomed, I am doomed. Who will rescue me in those days? Troubles will come, and many people will groan. Famine will come, and many will die. Wars will come, and the world powers will tremble. Disasters will come, and everyone will be terrified. What will people do when these disasters come? Famine, epidemics, troubles, and sufferings are sent to punish and correct people. But in spite of all this, they will not turn away from their sins. They soon forget their punishments. The time is coming when food will be so cheap that the people will think a time of peace and plenty has arrived. But then disaster will spring up everywhere. Wars, famines, and great confusion. Many people on earth will starve to death, and those who escape starvation will be killed in war. Giving all praises, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, and the Rakah Kodash, which is the Holy Spirit. Double honors to the men that taught us His true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, our apostles and our elders of the Church of Great Millstone, who are ruling well. Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect that are out there. You see what's going on in L.A., and it's just a matter of time before these same riots pop up in other cities. What you're seeing is a psyop. What you're seeing is, a controlled, rebellion. A controlled riots. This is what you call ordo ab chaos, which is order out of chaos, which is manufactured. All right. How is it that you got illegals that are protesting, right? They're protesting so-called ICE. And here it is. They don't speak English. They speak Spanish. All right. Nosotros somos la gente de Dios. Los tribus de Israelitas. Anyways, they speak Espanol. And they speak it fluently. They can't speak English. And if they do, it's tidbits. Hi, bye, sorry, boss. Anyways, just being a little facetious. But they got signs that are written perfectly in English, to protest out there with. So all of the signs are there All of the obvious things are there to let one know whose eyes and ears are open that this has all of the workings of, a situation that's being done purposely so that they can bring in something else, so that they can bring in, their agenda, their decree, their plot, their plan, something that they had already premeditated and thought about doing. And when you get into it, you realize that this is being done strategically so that they could, bring about certain programs. One of them that I can think of right now is the program Palantir, all right, which was created by Thiel, all right, who is right now one of the right-hand men of Donald Trump, all right. And this program is basically supposed to be used or given into the hand of ICE to help them round up 3,000 illegal immigrants daily. So it's supposed to help track them in real time using artificial intelligence. But however, the same technology is going to be used on the American citizens. All right, another thing that this technology does is it centralizes an abundance of data, from basically everywhere. So it's supposed to collect data from the government, from profiles, your IDs, your social security number, all of that, and put it into one sector. All right, but also this is a way of them rolling out a social credit system. This is a way of them rolling out an opportunity to lock the grid up, to basically control how you spend money and to penalize you if you're one of those people that are coming up against the United States government. So this is, this is an avenue that they're taking, all right, to lay the final things for the foundation of the MOTB. All right, this paves the way for the IOB system, the Internet of Bodies, all right, and all of the other programs that go together, to introduce that MOTB system. All right, this works similar to the software that we've seen in Minority Report. They'll be able to get people for pre-crime using artificial intelligence, using data. All right, to be able to predict or so-called predict the future or future behaviors. All right, even the name Palantir draws its name from, the movie The Lord of the Rings, which I'm going to grab that in just a second. Where does Palantir gets his name from? A Google search, right? And it says founded in 2003 by right-wing Peter Thiel and initially funded by the CIA. Palantir, whose name comes from Tolkien's Seeing Stone and the Lords of the Rings, is not the traditional Silicon Valley tech company. See? So it comes from the Lord of the Rings, and there was a particular object that allowed individuals to see into the future, to predict events and things that were going to happen, all right, to get answers. So this is the tech that they're rolling out. How does Palantir work? Palantir is a software company that builds platforms for data-driven operations and decision-making, primarily focused on government and defense, but also expanded into commercial sectors. Its main products, Palantir Foundry and Palantir AIP, help organize, integrate, and analyze vast amounts of data, enabling real-time insights and AI-powered automation. Palantir solutions aim to solve complex problems by bringing together data, analytics, and operational executions into a single framework. So this is the reason why those riots are happening, and keep your eyes open this weekend and the weekends to come for other riots and protests to spark in cities and areas near you, because they want insurrection. They want people rioting. They want an uprising. They want a manufactured insurrection so that they can issue this unrighteous decree. This is all part of the plan. All right, this is part of that 2025 agenda. This is part of the things that they've been talking about in the WEF, with the Build Back Better. All right, with the social credit system. All right, we're collecting data on individuals. And if they're guilty at any slight chance of saying or coming or thinking or meditating anything against the United States government, what they're going to do is shut those individuals out. So this is a part of a big agenda. All right. As the scriptures say in the book of Psalms, the 94th chapter, verse 20, and I want to catch that in the NLT. So this is Psalms 94 and 20 in the NLT, which reads, it says, can unjust leaders claim that the Most High is on their side? Leaders who, matter of fact, let me get it in the Amplified, the AMP. AMP, make you drop it like that. It's being silly. So this is AMP. It says, can a throne of destruction be allied with you? One which frames and devises mischiefs by decree under the sacred name of the law. And that didn't really capture it either. All right. Can unjust leaders claim that the Most High is on their side? Leaders who decree permit injustice. So really, what you're doing is you're framing mischief by law. All right, here it is. You manufacture this insurrection and these people to come up against ICE or whatever. Even if you didn't set up so-called agents or whatever, however, you put it in motion for ICE pretty much to harass, people that are just trying to work, trying to make a living, people that actually are able and permitted to work. You're rounding them up. You're deporting families, people that have been here that got their documents. You don't give a fuck if they get their documents. So people became upset at that. You put that in motion. And the reason that they put it in motion is so that they can decree this law or this decree to launch this program. All right, to set a wave, all right, for this technocracy. All right, for them to be able to rule through technology. All right, basically to introduce America and eventually the rest of the world to the MOTB system. All right, the book of Isaiah 10 and 1 or 10 and 2. Thus saith Yahweh, Salakia, that's a wrong book. All right, Isaiah 10 and 2. And it might be 1 and 2, Salakia. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. So you're issuing unfair laws, just like you did, going back into 2003, going back into the early 2000s when that war on terror was being fought, and how you created this boogeyman, you created this enemy so that you can bring forth what was known as the Patriot Act, and your different NDAAs, your National Defense Authorization Acts, that gave you permission to spy on the U.S. citizens, to gather and collect data on them, which ultimately it led to what? An abuse of that system. So the same thing is going to happen now. All right, but what are you collecting all of this data for? Is it so that you can issue digital money, a digital system, digital ID combined with all of that? All right, to eventually gain control. All right, more control through technology. The book of Ezekiel 28:3, it says, "Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee." All right, you search out iniquity. You accomplish a diligent search. You want to know every damn thing. All right, how many times your heart beat? How many times a person took a breath? All right, what did they eat? You know, what was the texture of the dung that came out of them? God damn. All right, there's no anonymity, but this is how they want it. That's the way I like it. Oh, my goodness. All right, you're going to need salvation from this because it's going to get bad. All right, we're entering into the beginnings of sorrows. All right, this is the beginning of sorrows. Matthew 24:8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And I read earlier 2nd Ezra, all right, the 16th chapter, beginning at verse 17. All right, but the 18th verse, read this in the KJV: the beginning of sorrows, and great mourning, the beginning of famine, and great death, the beginning of wars, and powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, and what shall I do, all right, when these evils shall come? And we learn this from reading the Bible, all right, and seeing it within history, that when wars happen, all right, eventually wars and famines go hand in hand. All right, America is on the brink of a civil war. All right, I saw a video. It says this is the divided states of America, or something along the lines of that. All right, this place is divided. But isn't that what the scriptures say? All right, that the Heavenly Father will turn the Egyptian against the Egyptian. The book of 2nd Ezra, the 19th chapter, in verse 2, which reads, Yahweh says, I will stir up civil war in Egypt and turn brother against brother and neighbor against neighbor. Rival cities will fight each other and rival kings will struggle for power. See? All right, it says the same thing in 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter. All right, that they'll rise up against each other, ignoring the legitimate governments. All right, 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. All right, these protests aren't going to just stay within L.A. All right, come the weekend, they're going to be protesting in other cities as well. But these protests are basically manufactured so that they can bring in the MOTB. Now, if this escalates, they're talking about using live rounds to unalive people. All right, there's videos of people getting shot in the head with rubber bullets. All right, left leaking. They're saying that they're not going to call any ambulance. Shit is going to get real. And there's going to be a lot of people slaughtered out there. A lot of people are going to be deleted. And this is the reason why we got to stay prayed up, stay out of it. All right, let Yahweh Bashmi Awashai do his thing. All right, and just wait, for your instructions through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Awashai, which is obviously going to take care of you if you're one of his saints. You're one of his chosen. All right, but this devil is definitely coming down. All right, with great wrath. He knows that he has a short time. The book of Revelation, the 12th chapter. And beginning at verse 10, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our power and the powers of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. And they overcame them by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony. They loved not their lives unto death. See, that's how we're going to get the victory. Through the testimony of Yahushua, through having faith. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants, or the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. See, they were using, matter of fact, I was watching a video. It says that Peter Thiel, became obsessed with Armageddon, all right? And he was saying that in order for them to have an advantage over their enemies, that they're going to have to really push this technology, all right? But that reminded me of Isaiah, the 47th chapter, all right? Stand with thy prognosticators, all right? They're thy astrologers, that none of that is going to be able to help you in a time when the Lord destroy your asses. Matter of fact, let me grab that real fast. Because you got them spirits that consult them and tell them what to do. But it's not to your benefit. It's not to your gain. It's not because you're going to be made great. It's really to set you up so that you could fulfill the next step. All right, the next phase before Yahweh Bashim Yahushai destroy your bitch asses. All right, this country and you elites go into slavery. So this is Isaiah the 47th chapter, and beginning at verse 12. Stand now with thine enchantments and the multitude of thy sorceries, because this is basically sorcery. I mean, the idea of it comes from the Lord of the Rings, which is a movie about witchcraft. It says, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, if so be, thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers and the stargazers and the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee, all right, from the things that shall come upon thee. Ain't nothing gonna save you. You can collect all the data in the world, it's still not gonna stop you from being turned into a honey glazed turkey, all right, burnt in the oven, all right, cooked on maximum temp, charred, burnt into coal. You ever burn something in the oven accidentally and the shit turned into coal? All right, I remember one time, working them fucking shifts here, working 12, 13, 14, 15 hours, sometimes 16 hours. You come in the house, you sleepy. And you wake up, the whole house is smoking. You'd have burnt something in the oven. Like, damn, I didn't even know that I fell asleep. That's how tired you be sometimes. But anyways, you go to get the item out of the oven, and the shit is no longer, there's nothing on it that's edible no more. It turned into coal. Well, that's what's about to happen to this place. All right, the Lord's going to burn it up. It says, behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. They shall not be a coal to warm at, nor a fire to sit before. Why? Because the people are going to be the coals in the fire. They're going to be burnt to a crisp. All right? They're going to be burnt to a crisp. So now you know what's really going on. And I'm sure there's more to it. There's levels to this shit. All right? This devil, man, he really mastermind how to do wickedness. So I'm sure there's different levels to it, and I'm sure there's other things that's going on. Now, they got you all, distracted with the P. Diddy situation. They got you distracted with certain things on social media. They got you distracted with the 100 men versus one gorilla. They got you distracted with all of these hoes and all of the things that they're doing on social media that's really gotten people pissed off. They got you distracted with Elon Musk. Look, Elon Musk ain't going nowhere. All right, he probably they decided that he was bad for the image of Donald Trump, and they basically said to him, look, just go into the background for right now. He's not going anywhere. And I believe wholeheartedly in the brother's dream. I wish the brother had a dream that they abducted him to try to give him the MOTB or something along that. I'm trying to recall it to the best of my ability. But there was like a latch that was opened up and Elon Musk was there. You know? So a latch, you know, and Elon Musk is there looking through like a door. And he's still around in the background. Do you know that him and Peter Thiel are buddy? They helped co-found PayPal together. And I've been saying this for years. All right, that they're going to integrate a payment system like PayPal with the Neuralink and the MOTB. All right, and then everything about Elon Musk is X. Well, X can stand for a multitude of things, but it also reminds me of the Chi stigma. All right, the Chi, and the you know, in the 666 Chi stigma. So they're definitely gonna push that MOTB. The Thiel is there. And Elon Musk is in the background, running operations from the background. Now, if this progress and it gets worse and riots break out in multiple different cities, they're going to deploy the National Guard in these different places. They're going to lock things down. And this is their Trojan horse to bring in this new system, to usher in this new system. All right, the MOTB system. So with that, I hope that this lesson was edifying, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. All right, we're entering into the time of Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. All right, but those that are faithful unto Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai and are part of the elect are going to be delivered. All right, so keep enduring unto the end. Call Halayim La Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Double honors to our apostles and elders, the Church of Great Millstone. Peace and love, salutations and mercy be unto the elect. Shalom.